Okay, so the one on the exam will look very similar to this. The only thing is you don't need to worry about the range. You're not going to be asked to do that. And then also it will be multiple choice. So you're not actually going to have to graph it yourself, but you'll want to get a rough sketch, and then from there you should be able to figure out which, A, B, C, or D. So when graphing these, okay, so a piecewise function is just broken into pieces. And so we'll call this first one piece one. So we'll call it y1 equals x plus 3. And that is only for when x is less than 0, right? Only for when x is less than 0. So let's pick some values when x is less than 0. Well, like -1 would work. So then -1 plus 3 gives us a 2. So that has a point at -1, 2 right here. Let's see, -5, I don't know. -5 plus 3, that equals -2. So that point would be -5 down 2 right there. Now, if I draw this, the problem is what about the points like really close to 0, like -0.01, right? And so if I were to plug that in, what would happen is when I add 3 to it, I would get 2.99, right? If I were to plug that in for x, right? So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and plug in 0, even though it's not included, because 0 is not less than 0. But I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. And when I plug in 0, I get a 3. But technically, it's not included. So a lot of times I put a little star next to it to be like, okay, wait a second, that's not included. But right next to it is included. So what we do is we put an open circle right there. And I can go ahead and connect my graph up to that open circle. So now I'm including all those points that are really, really close to 0. And so that's going to be the first part of the piecewise function. And then the second piece is defined right here, where my y value, we'll call it y2, will equal -2 if x is greater than or equal to 0. Now this time, 0 is going to work. 0 is part of my solution set. So I'll go ahead and plug in 0. Now what's going on here is this is actually a constant function. Y just stays at -2. It's going to stay flat. It's not going to be a tilted line like I have here. This is a positive slope right here for this red line. And so I'm just going to be just flat. So any x value greater than or equal to 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, I'm just going to get the same value, -2, -2, and so on. So let's see, at 0, I'm at -2, at 1, I'm at -2, at 2, I'm at -2, and so on, and so on, and so on. And so then I'll go ahead and connect this and put the arrow on the end like that. And so that's it. And then, like I said, the one on the exam is very similar to this one, but the only difference is there'll be multiple choice. And so I cut out the range question because if a student were to pick the wrong graph, that wouldn't really be fair because then they'd have no chance of figuring out the range. So, anyways, I hope that helps. And if you need help with any others, just let me know.